All right, I was kind of looking forward to this part. I hope it doesn't disappoint me, or you, I suppose. So, the cracks that are in this piece of wood that will be the top, the obvious ones are there. I'm looking around at what other ones will be there. Let me just think about how this is probably going to be orientated, I should say. Right, so those are the obvious cracks, and there are a couple of little ones that I might not have to do anything about, but I will. So I'm going to use Norski brand epoxy resin to do that. I'll only need a very small amount. Now, because these cracks clearly go all the way through, I'm going to put some tape on the back just so I don't make too much of a mess on the other side. I'll use that stick to spread it. Because I've got so much excess, I'll just spread it around. Who knows, there could be cracks that I can't quite see. I've cut out the top slightly oversized so it just overhangs the edge of the body. That's the safe way to go. You don't want to risk making any part of it too small. I'll just rout off the excess as usual. Okay, so let's glue this on, and after I've glued it on, I will use, to hold it down, a couple of large pieces of hardwood which I will clamp on top. Well, I've routed the top to the shape of the body and worked on any imperfections and made those look nice with my sander so you wouldn't even know there were issues. That's turned out rather lovely. Now, I'm not going to build a new neck for this guitar. When I first made a guitar based on the Toronado body, I built a neck based on a 25.5 inch scale, but the guitar body and its cavities were based on the 24 3/4 inches scale. So the neck didn't really work well with that body. So I set that neck aside, and I think I might use it here. So that's a nice thing to not have to do. I just need to make a pocket for it. This is often the case when you're routing with a bearing guide and you're going to put something into that pocket. You then need to use a smaller bit just to rout out those corners. Because of the size of the bearing, the bit didn't get all the way into that corner there. So I'm going to use a 1/4 inch bit with no bearing, but treat it the same way. Well, a cautionary tale. So there's the 1/4 inch bit with no bearing that I used. There's the template, and you can see it's really, because there is no wheel, no bearing, wheel, it's kind of a wheel, the shaft is spinning directly against the MDF and it burns a bit if you're not careful. It's a tricky one. I'm not sure the best way of doing this, but as a result of burning, it digs in a little bit and it caused a little bit of damage there. I can't really repair that. I may just have to live with it, which is a bit of a bother. But yeah, be very careful when using that method. I mean, you kind of have to use it or something like it, I guess, to get into those corners. Tricky. Well, on the whole, that's pretty good. I could perhaps live with it being a little bit tighter, but it's not bad. I can put the neck in and it won't droop or fall out, so that's as tight as I need it to be. There's that little bit of damage that I can see still. I could probably try to do something about that, but like fill it. Would I be happy with that? Possibly not. Possibly not. But that's a decision I can make later, to either fill it or just leave it as is. On the whole, that's pretty good. So there we are. There's the original cavity that I made earlier. And here is a lip that I've now routed out to enable a cover to sit over that cavity. A nice thick wooden one. There are several ways to mount pickups. I've decided to just like when I was making that guitar from so-called junk timber, I decided to make a scratch plate. I've made a one-off template. Well, not a one-off template. I'll probably use it again now that I've made it. But I made a custom template, and I still had some perloid plastic sitting around. Not much, so I made a small one. Necessity being the mother of invention. Yeah, so I need to route some cavities now. I almost made a big mistake. Almost. So there is the scale length line that I first drew onto the body of this guitar and figured out the bridge position on that basis. And on that basis, I then went ahead and made a scratch plate, which looks very nice. Trouble is, it's the wrong size. Well, the wrong size for the way it should be, because the line that I drew had a scale length of 24 3/4 inches. I think I had been talking just before I drew that line about the previous Toronado shaped guitar, which had a scale length of 24 3/4 inches. The proper scale length for this guitar, because the neck is already built and has the scale length already built into the fret spacing, is 25.5 inches. So I've drawn the proper one on there and moved the bridge, and now you can see the scratch plate is just the wrong size, really. So, I'm glad I caught it before I did any routing for the pickups, because that would really have been a pain. I will go ahead, I'm already underway, making a new template and a new scratch plate, and we will continue. Now you may be thinking, why, Glenn, why would you drill those holes there? Well, it's not for weight relief. So I'll use this one as an example. You can see the rectangle where the pickup cavity needs to be routed, but it's just a simple rectangle. At the end of the pickup, of course, there are the tabs that hold the screw. And so that's why I've drilled those holes, so that the tab will also fit in. Should be a nice symmetrical cavity by the time I'm done. My template doesn't include that rounded, but I could have made one that would do, but I don't have to. My template is just a rectangle. So let's route the rectangles now. I've misplaced my phone tripod, so I couldn't record myself doing this routing, but you've seen routing before. because normally I would set the phone up on the tripod and point it in my direction and record. Anyway, so there are the rectangular holes in the template where I did the routing for the pickups. So when you combine that with the round holes that I had already drilled, that's the resulting shape, which is the right shape for a pickup. And that semicircle will accommodate the tab on the end. They would possibly, in fact they would almost certainly be a bit large, these semicircular holes. If I were routing the pickups with a pickup ring, I imagine those holes would extend beyond the pickup ring, so I wouldn't want to do that. However, I'm not. I'm using a scratch plate, so this whole cavity will be underneath that and you won't actually see what shape it is. So I'm happy. Well, you know, life has its ups and downs, but I'm happy with that shape. Well, it's time to carve the belly curve, just to make the back of the guitar more comfortable. I don't think the original Fender Toronado had one, but so what? I've never carved one of these before, so I'll just do what I always do and rush in and hope for the best. I've drawn the lines around where I want it to go. And I'm using a pretty coarse rasp to do the job. Okay, well, I've roughed off the bulk of the material with this coarse rasp. I'm going to move to still somewhat coarse but considerably finer file. I can just feel some raised areas that aren't quite roughed out enough. It's easier to feel them once you've smoothed them down a little bit. So there's just an area there where I'll go back to the rasp to really rip that out. Oh, so far, so good. I think I will switch over to using a scraper. That might give me the best result there. One moment, I'll just go and find it. Right, let's see how we go. Okay, that was really quick. I didn't expect it to be so quick. It's fairly subtle. It's not a radical carve here. But any further cleaning up can now just be part of the general job of sanding the body before the final finish.